What up, everybody? Welcome to the Xcast. Right about now, we want to welcome you to the greatest podcast on earth, hosted by yours truly, the XSP. I want to hear you say Xcast. Xcast.
Yo, what up, everybody on the web, out in the internet world? It's time for another podcast. I want to welcome you to the Xcast with the XSP. Today we have a great show, but before we get to the actual show, what I'm going to do is shout out a couple links that you can look up, a couple extra podcasts if you're not just watching mine or hearing mine. I want to tell you about a podcast called A Burning Hope with Renee Torres on Spotify. Check him out. He talks to a lot of interesting people and goes over amazing life stories. Also, you can listen to Project Restore, which is on Spotify as well, hosted by my brother Jason Garcia. And if you're out there and you can't watch it on YouTube, you can listen to the Xcast on Spotify. Type in the Xcast with XSP, and you can find it there. So 3 different things, couple of different ways to listen or watch the podcast. I also have music out there under the XSP/Extreme Street Preacher, Extreme with an X. And you can find my rap stuff, you can find my rock stuff. Or if you're out there and you say, hey man, I like what you're doing, I want to give you a couple bucks, you can PayPal me at the Demon Slayer XSP at yahoo.com. Now with all that stuff out of the way, I have a great guest on today. I met him throughout the field of being, going and ministering in other places other than churches, and turns out we have a lot in common. And you know what? It's going to be a great time to set up a platform for this young man or this man, and we're going to get to it right now. It goes by the name of Carlos Hernandez. Let's get it.
Sorry about that, brother.
It's all good. Here he is, Carlos Hernandez. What's going on, brother?
What's up, PJ, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you? You look like you're kicking it.
Yeah, bro. Just chilling. Actually, we've been doing anything but kicking it. We've been at the house getting ready to move here.
Wow, okay. Crazy. All right, man. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show, man. I'm glad to see you're taking out of your time out of your day to join this. I know you're probably busy moving, but I definitely appreciate your time that you're about to give me here.
Bro, I appreciate you coming on, bro. This is awesome.
Yeah. All right, so I was telling people that we met during a show as I'm ministering outside of a church, and I just want to get your perspective on things. I know you have a journey that you've been through in life, and I feel that people can learn from that, or they can at least take little bits here and there and maybe apply them to their lives. So thank you for coming on.
Sure thing, brother.
All right, so I don't like to start like normal things. I like to do icebreaker type questions. I want to ask you, man, have you ever seen anything that you couldn't explain, whether it be something supernatural, something aliens, abductions, or whatever the case is, that you can share with us today?
I think one of the craziest things I've ever seen was when I was a minister or a youth pastor at a little church in Lone Pine, Louisiana. It was a pretty big church, actually. And I have a little nephew named Clayton, and he was born with spina bifida, right? Or spina bifida, however you pronounce it. And he couldn't walk. He would always crawl, even, past the age of like 3. And one day in that church, on a Sunday night service, we all got together and we were like, he's going to walk in the Lord's name. And we prayed over him so hard, he actually began walking, like got up and started walking. It was looking at that, I was like, okay, you can't tell me that there's no God after I saw that. He was never kids are not supposed to walk with that, And I remember it was so funny because his dad, my brother, was there too. And out loud in front of the whole church when he started walking. My little brother goes, "What the hell?" Like everybody's like, "Ugh." I was like, "Dylan." But yeah, that was probably the thing. I was just like, okay, yeah, this is something. Yeah, God is definitely real. And of course, I had faith before that, and I didn't think any, but that was like, you can't tell me he's not, you know.
So you could say it kind of opened you up to the supernatural realm. I know that I was talking with another guest that sometimes the supernatural becomes something spooky for people, but it doesn't have to be. Did that kind of open your eyes to that part of the world?
Supernatural could mean more than one thing. Everybody, when you think of supernatural, you think of like the TV show with ghosts and goblins, you know, stuff like that. But I mean, it's also, I mean, we have a supernatural God, you know. I would definitely say it's supernatural.
Cool, man. So it's interesting. You say you were a youth pastor. What was the journey like? What was it that grabbed you on to what turned you on to Jesus? What turned you on to God? What was your path like beforehand? Maybe a little bit of a testimony of how you got to that point.
I grew up in the church, you know, in the Assemblies of God, and but at the time before I became a youth pastor, I had really much strayed away. I was really pretty much drinking alcohol all the time. I was pretty much going out to the bar like every weekend I was off. I was actually at the time before I was actually a few years before I was a police officer. And you would think, you know, police officers are, you know, and I was also a prison guard. And you would think, you know, that they're on their best behavior, but I was a total mess. You know, anytime I wasn't working, I was out drinking, chasing women and stuff like that. Just being a hooligan. And I remember like I was on my way back, coming from the bar one night. I was passing through this little town. I was going the back road because I was pretty inebriated, you know, I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, and I was a prison guard and police officer at the time. I was driving drunk. I was going through a little town called Evergreen, like I said, and I turned on the radio, you know, and it just so happened to be on a Christian station. And that song from Plum, "I Need You Now," you ever heard it?
I think so. I'm not sure.
I always remember the song, and it's a song called "I Need You Now." And that song started playing. I went to reach my hand to just turn it because, you know, you feel guilty. And I remember my hand just stopped, and I just stopped right there. I pulled the car over, and I parked at this park, right? And I just listened to the song, and I just began weeping, like crying, like, this is not how God wants me, you know? And it was a Saturday night. I actually sat on the jungle gym over there and just prayed for like an hour and a half. And then I actually, I was like, I don't need to be driving drunk or whatnot. So sorry, my phone went off. So I actually got my friend to come pick me up and bring me home, and I left my car there. And I remember the next morning, I went and actually, I went to church and I met this man called, his name was Jack Osteen. He was a new pastor there. And we got to talking, and he basically just told me about it and stuff. I started going back to church, and he needed a youth pastor at the time. I didn't think I was ready for it. I didn't think, I was like, man, I don't know how to preach. I don't know how to do all this stuff. And he's like, you're never going to be ready. And he said, well, how about you just help with the youth group? You know, just go around, help us out, you know. And I remember, I went to one youth group, and I sat in the back and I listened. And then I went back the next week, oh, you're teaching the class, lo and behold. Just kind of threw me right in the deep there, which was awesome because I took it and I ran with it. And I had actually prepared a sermon, and the kids were invested and they listened, and we did some pretty fun games and stuff. And, you know, it was very rewarding, you know, and it was some of the greatest times of my life, you know, being a youth pastor.
Before we get more deeper into that, I want to rewind a little bit. You said there was a time where you kind of left the faith. Was there something in particular that made you kind of leave the church, or was there a particular event or a person, or can you explain a little bit of that?
Actually, no. I can't. Like, I met friends and I met people, and I guess I had been preached to, all my life, that I just strayed away, and I was like, forget it. And I saw all these people, hooking up with women and pretty much, drinking. It seemed like they were having fun, and I wanted to be in on that, And so I lost interest in going to church. I would use work as an excuse, like, oh, I worked all night, I don't need to go to church, I'll catch it again later. And you know how you do that? You miss one Sunday, right? Then you miss another, then you miss another, and you're like, just this Sunday I'll miss, just this Sunday. Then it becomes it's been 3 years, 2 years since you've been to church,
So it's kind of more of a snowball effect, like, hey, I deserve this little time off. I don't need to worry about God today because I outwork myself. So I guess those kind of excuses, they do snowball. You think, oh well, poor me, what about me? And that kind of you kind of a selfish kind of attitude then starts to come up.
I was actually prophesied over as a young, as 12 years old, that I was going to be in ministry, and I was like, okay, I can always go and do that, and then, and then actually, like I said, I just lost my way, bro. And then before you know it, I was like, I missed this Sunday. I'll just drink this one little beer, it's just, God forgives all. And before you know it, I'm, on a binge, and I'm going out every night and blowing all kinds of money,
Right. So as a youth minister, what do you think was the most rewarding event that ever took place during that time that you were a youth minister?
Let's see. Well, I can tell you this, it's awesome that now a lot of my students, I had about 30 kids in my year. We're probably one of the bigger ones, in the area. And just seeing now, a lot of them, they're, married, and they're still in the church, and they're still posting scripture, and they're still the pastor's sons. They're now youth pastors, and I had them in my, well, one of them is. The other one, I think he's going to go to Bible college soon. And just seeing, that they're still doing good, that their faith is still there, So hopefully I had something to do with that. I'm not taking credit, but, and then just leading kids to, any altar call, when you see somebody give their, their heart to God, and just anything like that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure. I know the feeling of doing children's church or what have you, and seeing what's up.
Thought of another one. I remember there was this little girl that was having a lot of issues with her mother, and literally almost fist fighting with her mother. I didn't tell too many people this, but I pretty much stayed with her, gave her advice. I had one-on-ones with her. I actually even brought my mom in to talk to her too. And just to say, hey, I was kind of the same way. I never fist fought with my mother now, but I was very rebellious and stuff. And just seeing her now, she's still in the church. She's, like I said, she has a boyfriend. She's going to college and just doing great.
It is very rewarding when you know that you had some part in doing that. So, are you still a youth minister, or are you still within that kind of realm, or?
I wish I was.
Step back from that.
I wish I was, and I will be again one day. My faith is still here and everything. For a while, when I first moved to Austin, I had backslid. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't, on purpose. It was just, new city, Austin, wanted to see what's going on, but I'm back on the right track. Hopefully, I can find a good church and get in somewhere. In Raleigh, North Carolina, is where I'm moving. Yeah, it's a good piece right there, man.
Hang out no more.
I know. I'm sorry, bro. Hey, we still got time, bro.
Yeah.
I wish I could have catch another one of the wrestling shows with you. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, speaking of wrestling, man, I know that you're a big wrestling fan. Honestly, I think you're a bigger wrestling fan than I am. What was it that sparked that interest in wrestling? What were your earliest memories? Because I know for me, I don't even remember when it was. It just was always in the house. The everything that was going on. What was your venture into wrestling?
A guy by the name Big Daddy Cool Diesel. I remember watching him versus Bam Bam Bigelow when I was a little kid. My dad was passing. I was like, no, right there. And he put it on there and he let me watch it. And ever since then, I've just been hooked. How I got into how I got into like indie wrestling, which is what I'm more into now, more than say like WWE or whatnot. Like now, I barely even watch WWE. I don't even pay attention. I don't remember if you remember the show on MTV. It was Wrestling Society X.
Yeah, for sure. I got the DVD box set.
I got it too. Actually, my friend George has it. George, if you see this, I'm gonna need that back one day, bro. And there was a guy on there by the name of Teddy Hart. And after that show, I was like, man, I wonder what happened to all these guys. So I just remember scouring the internet and looking. I was like, what's Jersey All Pro Wrestling? I was like, what's Combat Zone Wrestling? I just found this whole world of just independent wrestling, and it wasn't nearly as big as what it is now. Like nobody, I saw Kenny Omega, in his first match. I was hooked. Just always on YouTube looking for wrestling, like internet wrestling.
So, one of the things that I can remember was, I think, even earlier than that. I remember Papa Shango and Ultimate Warrior and their whole feud that they had for a while. And one of the things that really drew me in was, one, they both had face paint. They both, Papa Shango had the skull face paint, and Ultimate Warrior had his face paint. And they were just larger than life characters. And Papa Shango started doing these rituals and humming and doing these things. And then you see Ultimate Warrior's face start to drip with black liquid, and there you have the build up of this match. And then that's kind of one of the things that drew me in back in the day. And to this day, I'm still on that.
I was really into the characters too. But like I was saying, like when I watched Wrestling Society X, I saw like Teddy Hart doing crazy moves, like double backflips off the top rope and stuff like that, all the high flying stuff. And that's what drew me into like, the indie wrestling, the moves they were doing that WWE you didn't see, Yeah,
WWE is definitely a not soft style, but it's definitely a moderate style that obviously those guys need to kind of work. They're working on a longer period so that they don't do as many of those kind of things.
I get that. But the work rate has picked up a lot. You have a lot of people from like Kevin Owens and stuff that are in there now that are doing really good. My favorite wrestler of all time though is AJ Styles. Actually,
okay.
AJ Styles, I met him once.
Tell us what that interaction was like.
It was crazy. It was in Monroe, Louisiana for Christian Wrestling Federation. I went with a little youth group that I was involved in, that I was a part of, called Extreme Youth. And it was maybe about 80, 90, maybe 100 people there in a little high school gymnasium. And AJ Styles wrestled, and he did a little testimony after. And it was just like he prayed over me and we talked for a minute. I don't know if you knew that, but he's a big Christian.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing an article talking about he was talking about how he's really into Christian rap, and he wish he could have had a Christian rap guys do his intro music. And not only him, Samoa Joe, I think they did those type of outreaches. And you'd be surprised, man. There's there's a Christian federation or Christian promotion in San Antonio called Christian Championship Wrestling, where they kind of bring in those same elements on a smaller level.
Yeah, this one was Christian Wrestling Federation. I remember, but at the time it wasn't a big deal to me because I didn't know who he was. He wasn't who he is now. So I just thought he was cool. Lo and behold, I started watching TNA. And I was like, that's the same guy. And I just followed him. Dude, call me, lame or whatever, or corny. When he came out during the Royal Rumble, dude, I teared up. I know that it sounds like a lot of, like my wife makes fun of me and everything because I had watched this guy and I always wanted to see him in the WWE, like for most of my teenage years into my adulthood. And I watched him and I was like, bruh. And when he won the belt, I was like, dude, like it was just unreal to me because I saw him like he tried many a times to get WWE and they always reject him a couple times, or lowball, which is not bad on WWE, but I guess, but now he had to make a big name for himself and he's in there now doing great.
I can understand the same thing with like an Undertaker. I saw that the Last Ride documentary, and you can't help but grow up with these guys, especially if you've been watching for a long time, and you see all the things that they do to put their bodies on the line, and that's not really that's a saying that they come up, but you have no idea. These guys are walking around in pain because they're trying to entertain us, and they're walking around with hips that they need to be replaced, and these guys, they walk around in tears sometimes, but they go out in front of millions of people and do what they do, and they try to do it at the same energy and the same rate that they did when they were younger. And it's almost like, man, you just got to say thank you to these kind of guys because they're not throwing their whole lives away, but definitely racking their bodies to the point where they're almost immobile so that we can be entertained. It's definitely something to applaud.
Really awesome. But yeah, back to the thing of what I'm doing now. I'm not trying to take over or nothing, but I'm gonna say this: like, I'm not with a youth group yet, but I'm hoping to get back to it. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, I can find something. I actually came to Austin. I was gonna be like helping out with a youth group, but then I got sent to Oklahoma for 3 months, and they found somebody else, and I couldn't help that. And then I actually applied to be a street preacher here, like downtown, with this company. And
how does that work? Because I know that here in San Marcos, we just kind of take a bullhorn or a portable PA and go and preach anywhere. Is there like an ordinance, or is there something that? Yeah,
this was going to actually be a full-time job. Yeah.
How does that work?
I would have to follow up with youth, like with kids in their home. Like I would have to go to visit their houses and see how they were doing, and see if they were being reached. And I applied for it. I had my interview and everything, and they ended up somebody that had like a doctorate in ministry. They ended up getting him, which I completely understand. I'm just credentialed, but this dude had a full blown degree, and I just seen that that's not where he wants me yet. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just looking for where I can get in at, and I promise you, Pastor Jack, I will be back in ministry. So I had to deliver that.
Hey, honestly, man, I feel like if that's your calling, then you should strive.
It's gonna come back.
And that's part of the reason why I started doing things outside of the church is I wanted to reach people where they are. Whether it be going into a place like a club or a coffee shop and preaching Jesus.
That's my sentiment exactly.
You'd be surprised how many people would react to it. And I mean, you're one of the people that I feel that reacted to and gravitated toward the message. I had no idea you were going to be there. You know what I mean? But it happened.
It was so amazing to me. The stuff I heard. Let me tell you for a second. I think that's the most awesome thing ever is that you go to these places and like straight up. I'm going to say the J word. Can I say the J word?
What's the J word?
Juggalo.
Juggalo. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm wearing a Juggalo t-shirt right now.
I seen you had a Juggalo show, and the stuff that you were rapping about, I was like, is he saying redeem yourself? Like, is he saying? I was like, what? And then I had to come talk to you after. I was like, dude, you're giving a Christian message to probably, you know what I'm saying, to the place that you didn't think you would ever hear that at. And I found that amazing and fascinating about you and different. You go like, you can't help but respect that, I mean, and it could be scary for you, because a lot of them are non-believers or like to, be, I guess you could say, edgelordy. And I know there's always a chance of rejection for your message. And you're going right in the fire, bro, and that is awesome.
Yeah, one of the things that, man, I learned is that you have to be fearless. But because I was that person who who was the one in the other side of the stage at one point, but now that I have a message to tell, I'm very appreciative that people even receive the message a lot of times, and it opens people's ears, opens people's eyes sometimes, and even though they may not totally accept the message, they may not get saved right there and then, but I believe seeds are planted, and people realize that, hey, there's more to this whole thing than just what's right in front of me or whatever. I think that I drop seeds here and there, and the Bible says that the word doesn't come back void. And I believe there'll be a fruit from that at some point.
Dude, it's so awesome, dude. I love what you do. I really do. But yeah.
Cool. So what was it that got you into the Juggalo culture? Now that we're talking about it, what was it that kind of drew you in? Was that during a time where you're in your darker times, or was it while you're in church, or how did that all come about?
It was kind of both. I was kind of always into it. I remember I was a sophomore, and this girl showed me, didn't even show me ICP, showed me Twisted first. And then I just started listening to them. I started hearing the stuff that sounds like, oh, it's kind of like a horror movie, but in music form, And I just got really into it. Their merch attracted me. They had some of the coolest looking merch I'd ever seen. And I don't know, I got all the way into it. And I kind of stepped away when I was a youth pastor, but I was always kind of still in that life. But it was like a deep, dark secret of mine. I was like, I don't need people to know I'm a juggalo and a Christian. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but a Christian can be anybody, I do sort of fall into that I guess you could say like that culture, but I'm just a Christian that happens to be in that culture. You know what I'm saying? I don't do a lot of the stupid stuff that you see associated with that culture, but I still enjoy it. And like I said, somebody told me I'm a Christian wherever I go. That's not going to change whether I'm in the church or whether, I'm watching Ouija Mac, you know what I'm saying, on the stage, you know what I'm saying? I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says or a lot of stuff, but I can still think I can enjoy it. And people are going to disagree with me and I get it,
I totally understand where you're coming from. There's things that, honestly, I was talking to another guy for his podcast, and I talked about writing a song called Gravedigger, and the inspiration coming from the group Gravediggers, which is a horrorcore group, so finding inspiration even within that horror scene, but yeah, you can still flip it and have a message to it. And I think that ICP partly has done that. As they've grown up and matured, so has their music. Now, whether you like it or not, that's debatable, but the messages have constantly been getting more and more positive.
My mom was so honestly against it, and I showed her Miracles, and I showed her like the newer stuff, and she's like, okay, that's not so bad. And so I mean, they've come up a lot, I don't, it definitely has changed. It's not straight hardcore anymore, from them anyways. And then if you haven't heard, A and B, God's Hand Killer, they talk about killing demons. I'm not gonna say with it, F the devil, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I know. I think I've seen a meme where it says something like, I was thrown out of church for saying F the devil, and he's like, hey, I thought we're supposed to be about that, which we are. It's just that there needs to be
there's better ways to put it than the F word.
There needs to be some tact in doing those things. Well, that's awesome, man, because I feel like I'm the same way. Is that I just happen to come up in that culture, and part of it doesn't leave you. The edginess of the music doesn't leave you. Just it's up to you to kind of interpret it and maybe throw your own message out there if you're an artist, or just to be a light in the darkness. I feel like, I don't know.
That's for sure, bro. And like I said, it's amazing how you've managed to flip that so much. It's awesome, dude.
One of the things that surprised me was Insane Poetry, man. That first night giving me the endorsement that, hey, this dude has some grapefruits to get up there and rock out with all these people that are kind of not leaning towards that. So that was the biggest endorsement that I got. And not only that, but some backstage comments I got from Scum was like, hey, you keep doing what you're doing. So it's like, even if guys,
that's coming from Scum.
Coming from Scum. So
that's coming from Scum.
If you guys don't know Lyrical Snuff Productions, it's basically what it says, Lyrical Snuff. If a guy like that can give me the endorsement, then why not keep going? Obviously, I got in somebody's ear, and I think other Christians can do the same if they're.
You might have gotten in Scum's ear.
Yeah. And not only that, but I whenever he comes around, it's like one of the first guys that always kind of shows me love and appreciation. So.
Oh yeah, he's very chill. I met him a few times. Very, very good guy.
Yeah.
Very good guy.
Even as far as giving me like what do you call it, like musical advice and how to market and things like that, other behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, man. So now skipping forward ahead, you had a weight loss journey. Before we get to that though, I just want to say we're gonna talk about weight loss, but we're not gonna do it in a prideful way. I know that I've met people in the past who go, "Oh, look at my picture. I'm such a fatty. Look at how much of a porky I am." But that's you, and I don't feel like you should talk like that about yourself. And I don't think you should talk meanly to yourself, because that's you. You should love you. You should love yourself. God,
you just want to better yourself for your confidence.
Right. So tell us about
you should want to better yourself and be the best you.
Right. Tell us about your journey in weight loss.
Well, first of all, like when I was a police officer, I had gotten really skinny because it's been a struggle all my life, you know. Since I was a little kid, I was always, the fat kid. And I remember when I had actually gotten to be about 21, I was like, I'm going to do something about this. And I started taking a pill called Adderall. And I'd gotten really hooked on that. And even while I was a police officer, and I had shrunk down to like where I was a big old head, little body, didn't look right. So I put on a little weight there. But once I left the police department, got off the stuff, I got puffed up. Like I started driving trucks. And when I was in the youth ministry, bro, like us Christians, bro, us church folk, we like to eat.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the first things. It's like you say fellowship. All right, let's do this. What are we gonna eat?
Yeah. And I remember, like, I started driving trucks in ministry. I got up to where I was 400 pounds. And to where the doctor brought me in, the doctor was like, if you stay at this, you're not going to live till you're 40. That's a reality check, bro, when they tell you that. That's when you know that you got to do something. So I tried different things. I actually went and had surgery. I went and had the little, and it worked. But I had actually, like, you can mess that up very easily. And I had pretty much started gaining the weight back even after the surgery. So I remember I was listening. I don't know if you listen to Chael Sonnen. You know who that is? The MMA fighter?
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, well, let me go back to that. Okay. I would try different things. I would try this no carbs. Okay. No carbs. I would try all these different things. I was like, okay, well, I need to take the carbs out. I would try weight loss patches. I would try pills. I did the surgery. I did all these things. And I remember, like, all these complicated things. Oh, gluten is the enemy. Carbs are the enemy. Eat only meats. Eat this much of this and this much of that. And it was always overcomplicated too. Like, I was like, man, I can only eat this much, but not this much of something. Then I was listening to the Chael Sonnen podcast, You're Welcome. And he said people tend to overcomplicate dieting. I was like, okay. He goes, if you burn more calories than what you take in, you will lose weight. It's really that simple. Good key right there. That's good. What you got right there, that's a key right there. Water. Very important. You got plenty of water. It keeps you going. So basically I adopted that. I just eat less calories. I eat way less, and I locked it in my head, And then sometimes, I overdo myself. Sometimes still, and then I'll see the gauge, on the scale go up, and then I know, okay, time to cut out the calories. So pretty much, it's really that simple. You eat less calories than you burn more calories than what you take in. You're good. And I go for walks. I never did nothing really too extreme. I just chilled on the calories. I didn't eat as much. And then before you know it, my stomach started shrinking. And even better than when, like when I did the surgery, it got I lost it so quick, you know what I'm saying? It looked bad, And then pretty much from there, I go to the gym every now and then. Not as much as I probably should. I just, I chilled. And it's better to lose it slowly than it is to do it all fast. And that's what I always wanted. Every time I would try, I would lose weight real fast, and then I would gain it just back as fast.
Why do you think that is, that surgery didn't work out the way you expected it to? What is it about the surgery that makes it kind of reverse, or in your case it reversed? Some people it doesn't have that, but what do you think it was in your case?
It worked. I'm not gonna say it works, but I mean it only works for so long because you can go right back to your same habits and you can stretch it right back out. And I guess, I made the change in my body, but my mind wasn't changed. You know what I'm saying?
So really, now that you say that, you think that you probably could have done it without surgery anyway if you were to just put your mind to it?
I probably could have if I was better disciplined, but I was desperate at the time.
Did you ever try fasting? There's this thing called the snake diet. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I've tried fasting.
Fasting to the point where, it kind of takes off a lot of it. What was your experience with fasting?
I actually kind of do that now. Like that's actually, once I see like myself getting, a little out of there, like once I see myself, the gauge on the scale going up, I stop. I'll go, man, so many hours without eating, and then I'll just introduce a little bit more, and I'll eat a little bit. That's actually my key. Like I go on like long strings of fasting. Not like eating like nothing cold turkey, but like say I'll just after 4 o'clock all the way until the next day, I'll just stop eating. You know what I'm saying? That's probably one of the things. That's what I do now. That's how I kind of maintain where I'm at.
Do you ever involve prayer into the mix, like a prayer and fasting mix? Because honestly, the way I
probably more. Yeah.
The spiritual level is we oftentimes don't realize that we can be gluttons for certain things, and that's a spirit, and that's what I come to believe. And you think that there's an element of prayer going on to kind of suppress some of the appetite?
That's very much. I probably need to pray more when I'm fasting. I probably should associate that more, but I don't. And thank you. I'm learning from you right there. But gluttony, it is a sin. Overabundance is a sin. And I've seen I always mention him, Jack Osteen. That's why he's actually a lot smaller. When I met him, he was about 300 pounds, but then he told me he had to lose his because he said he was preaching against it, but then he looks and he would go eat, there he was 300 pounds, you know what I'm saying? He needed to practice what he preached, so he began dieting, and he looks great now.
For sure, I think in the Christian world, we oftentimes, because we're like social people, fellowship type people, we don't realize that we can
homecoming, bro. Homecoming, that big old spread they put out.
We can step into that field of we can step over the line without even noticing it, because you're trying to be, you're trying to give people help. You're eating, next thing you know, you've already had 3 plates of food, and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm sick or whatever.
I remember
I shouldn't eat that much or whatever the case is.
I'll give you an example. The first time me and Pastor Jack met first time we sat down and talked about me being a youth pastor was at a buffet. Just to go to show you.
Yeah,
it just,
I had a guy, an evangelist, visit our church one time. He said one of the downfalls of America is our buffets, which is, I never thought about it at the time, but I'm thinking, well, if people are going to that, it's going to hurt their body eventually, and if that's what they do constantly. Now that I've seen it, people who are like, they're constantly going to buffets, and you see like a decline in their lifestyle as far as being active and different things like that. So it's definitely something to look into, or something to watch for yourself. I know I myself have always I've always struggled with weight loss, and this past couple of years I've lost 70 pounds. So
yeah, you look good, bro. I see your face is a lot slimmer.
But part of that is through fasting, through prayer, and also being mindful of what I'm taking into my body and educating myself. And really, honestly, if you want to try to lose weight, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to say, hey, this is a problem. What can I do to fix it? And really be open to that fix.
It's food is an addiction, bro. It really is. Food is definitely an addiction. And, like they say, the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem,
For sure, but and we're always told, this is something that you need. You need it every day. And some doctors say you need 6 meals a day. I come to not believe that anymore. I believe you need some kind of something in your body, but
that's part of the problem that I struggle with. It being overcomplicated. Some say you need to eat 6 meals a day. Some you need to eat 2 meals a day. There's so many ways, you know what I'm saying? It can be overwhelming.
for sure, man, and it's definitely you got to find the balance within all those different things. So hey, let's switch back up to concerts. What was your first concert that you went to, and what was your experience? I know I'm kind of switching gears, but I know that you're a concert goer like myself. What's one of the better or the first concert, and then your experience and maybe the best concert you've seen since then?
My first concert. Oh, Lamb of God at the Blackham Coliseum in Lafayette, Louisiana.
So was it just them, or were there other people on the bill? How was the night?
Dude, that card was stacked. It was God Forbid, Children of Bodom, Municipal Waste, As I Lay Dying was a co-headliner. It was I remember, like, me and my buddy, we had made plans to go to Lafayette to see the concert. And I remember I got so upset because I ended up having to go by myself because I was like, you ready to go? I went to his house to pick him up. He's like, well, Mary's coming over, which was a girl. I was like, dude, you can see Mary anytime. It's like where we live, concerts didn't really come around that much. I didn't really start going to very many concerts until I moved here. Because the part of Louisiana we're in, you had to either go to Houston or New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So it was always kind of a good piece. It was always a big deal. But just so happened that Lamb of God had a stop in a town that was next to us called Lafayette. It was the first and the last time they ever went. I don't know why, because it sold out. But I was like, dude, Lamb of God don't ever come over here. And I remember I was like, you know what, forget you. And I just went by myself. I met a few people there and had a great time, dude. It was, bro, I was just in awe. It was my first concert. And I don't know, like, if you ever heard Lamb of God, but they sounded just as good live as what they do on the record, you know, and man, it was so awesome. First time I ever got thrown into a mosh pit, first time for all that.
They're definitely a very powerful, energetic band. All right, so what was the best concert you ever been to?
I see those Zydeco bands at festivals. I'm sorry?
What's the best concert you ever went to? Like, would you say that it doesn't matter if they come around, I'm going to try to make it out to see them?
That's hard, bro.
Well, let's say top 3. Your top 3 favorite artists that always put on a good show that you will always go see them.
All right. One, like a year ago, I went and saw the Suicide Boys. That was really good. And not like I sat down and watched them the whole time and just took it in. And I had like perfect vantage of seeing it. And it was them and a bunch of other groups. I forgot Shakewell and who else was there? City Morgue was there, and I enjoyed that one. Probably, let's see, top 3. The Riddle Box show, the Riddle Box tour, the Austin stop, that was a good one. I remember that one because it was my first. That one is special to me because I met a lot of the friends that I know here today. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know anybody. I was in Austin by myself. I hadn't met my wife yet. And it was my first weekend there, actually. This was in like the next day, and they ended up sending me to Oklahoma. And I was a little scared. It was my first, Juggalo concert, so I was a little scared, because you see all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I had never been around a big mass group of them. Where at the part I was living, there was like maybe me and 2 other guys that were into that scene, and we only knew each other. So I was a little, scared of going. But I ended up going. I was like, fine, I'm going to go ahead and go. It was my first time being downtown. It was my first time, seeing a big mass group of juggalos. And, dude, it was so welcoming and fun. It was, like, instant. I made, like, in the line, I had made friends that I hung out with that I still keep in contact with today, Johnny Cervantes, Manuel.
I know him.
And that's where I met my first friends that I have here in Austin now. And it was a great night. First night nobody even knew who Ouija was. It was the first time I ever saw him perform, and it was really good.
You know, I can remember my first ICP show, and that was actually 1999 or 2000, and it was at Stubbs Barbecue on the
I was
outside.
12 years old.
Was yeah? Oh yeah, it's pretty much basically. I was probably like 14, maybe 13 or 14, and I went by
I was
myself.
11 or 12 at the time.
I went by myself. My parents dropped me off at the corner, and I got in line, and I waited in line by myself. I remember listening to what do you call it? Carnival of Carnage on my Walkman, riding up to it, and just thinking, man, I'm about to see these dudes live. I'm about to see these dudes in person. What if I meet them? And just thinking all these different things. You know, Blaze hadn't even put out an album yet. I think he might have put out that EP, and it was Blaze and ABK. They opened up, and Mars opened up, and that, like you said, they're just so welcoming. You know, I started interacting with dudes, and they were like, "Oh, hey, where are you from? Where are you from?" Then you know they're freestyling in the middle of the crowd, and like everyone just knew each other. It's pretty wild. It's a wild experience.
It was so welcoming, bro. It was like instant connections, instant friends. And that's I did VIP that night too, and it was kind of like after, and this was like right after I left the church that I was with, and I moved up here, and it was kind of like I used it as like kind of big coming out. I put a picture of me in ICP, and I was like, a Christian is a Christian wherever he's at. And I put a picture of me in ICP, and I actually like told ICP, I was like, I'm an ex-youth pastor, and they thought it was the coolest stuff ever, bro. They started asking me questions.
And can you share some of that interaction that you had with Insane Clown Posse? I know that people look at them, they look at the paint, they look at the lyrics, and they think, man, these guys are always thinking about killing or whatever the case is. What was your experience meeting them face to face? What are some of the things that they asked you?
Well, like it was crazy that they were asking me questions anyway. Cause I thought they were gonna just rush me off, but they're like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm actually an ex-youth pastor." They're like, "What?" They're like, "What are you doing? You know where you're at?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "I've always been a fan of you guys, and a Christian's a Christian." He was like, "I wish we could get everybody else to understand that." Is what Violent J told me. He goes. I believe in God. He goes, I'm not going to lie. I don't follow like I should. I don't follow all this stuff. And he actually told me he believed in God. I was like, hey, that's cool. He's like, bro, that's kind of impressive that you're here. You know, usually like anybody that like you would be caught dead here. And I was like, well, man, I mean, it is what it is. And it lasted about 2 minutes. But I could see that they were really like shocked and kind of impressed that, you know, I told them I was a youth pastor. And it was great. I could never have done it when I was in the church, man. They would have probably ran me out of there really quick. But, you know, it was really good, dude. Like, they were very accepting about it. They didn't judge me. They didn't or anything. They were just like, that's really awesome that you're here and you're a youth pastor. They were just, you know, I can't remember everything we talked about. It's been a while, but it was a good experience, bro.
That's awesome that when you strip away the paint or whatever behind the paint, they're just people. They're just people who are interested in other people. You know, I know some people are like, oh, they're just devils, and well, maybe they're just struggling like you and I were, are, whatever the case is. And that's kind of the outlet that they get that. But maybe behind that, you can offer, if you ever do meet them like you did, offer like a basically living your faith out loud, so to speak.
I should have did more. I mean, there was a little time. It was rushed, but kind of not rushed. It impressed me because they were like so like what like they were interested. I wish I could have had more time to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you had like the security guy. All right, next. But it was really cool. Like I didn't know. Like I went there with the purpose to tell them that I was a Christian and that I listened to them. I wanted to see what they thought about it. And I could see that they were really like, that is awesome. Yeah,
it definitely is when you have the boldness to tell these guys who many people look up to, and then they all of a sudden find interest in you and what you do. And I know Shaggy said it a lot, is that if it wasn't for those people, you know, they wouldn't be where they are. So, you know, they obviously show love to the fans as far as interest that they're into and try to know them as much as they can.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, man. Well, I think that kind of wraps up. Unless there's something else you want to talk about, anything you want to ask me, or anything you want to let people know, any projects you're involved in, where they can catch you, or if they say, hey, man, that guy Carlos seems like a really good guy. Where can they reach out to you? Any last minute kind of plugins?
I would tell you on my Instagram, but I didn't forgot the address. I'll put it on there one day in the comments or something. But yeah, pretty soon I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch. I'm gonna be doing all that whole thing. I'm gonna be doing family friendly things on Twitch. I'm gonna start streaming on YouTube also. Once I get this move out, I got a setup now, and if y'all are interested, just look me up. It's gonna be underneath the J-Man Carlos, the J-Man Carlitos on Twitch.
So honestly, that sparks a question for me. Mostly twitching is for gaming? Is that am I correct? Now it looks like you have an array of arcade games behind you. You want to talk about your interest in gaming?
That I'm addicted to gaming. I'm not really addicted, but it's my main hobby. It's what I enjoy doing. It's kind of what calms me down. Instead of going out and doing stupid stuff, I just stay home and game. I got really into home arcade as I was a kid. You know, I always wanted to. My dream was to have my own arcade in my house, and I think I've achieved that. A little bit there. You see the marble right there. And
For sure. For those of you who are listening on Spotify, he has behind him literal arcade games that you would find in an arcade in the '90s, and all lined up across his back wall.
Oh, it goes further too. There's more over here.
So that's definitely something that's cool. You obviously have a passion for gaming. What is it about these games that gets you like motivated? What is it wants you to pursue these type of?
It takes the stress off of me, you know. Like if I'm stressed about anything, I go and I sit down and play video games. A lot of people get worked up about it, like competitive gamers. Like I've had roommates before. I hear them playing Call of Duty, you know, saying every curse word in the book while they're playing. Me, it's direct opposite. It calms me down. It gets me out of my head. And it puts me in somewhere totally different. You know what I'm saying? Because my problems and my anxieties are not happening. I'm focused on the game. And, you know, like, and that's a cliche answer, but, you know, it takes me to a different world, you know? And arcade gaming, I mostly love the look of it. You know, like, you know, somebody walking in the house and like, dude, you have an arcade in your house? Yeah, I do. And I play every one of these, and I love building them. I love fixing them. That's kind of one of my passions too. That's actually also my other hobby. I love trying different things with them. As you can see, that Street Fighter cab over there, I'd actually took it apart and I'd actually like made it into an emulation machine. Now it has like probably about 80,000 games on it. And I put those light up buttons on and everything. And just seeing, you know, start the project, and then it actually works when you plug it in. It's a great feeling.
That's amazing. I never seen anyone who did beyond just playing, but you're actually building games and modifying these games. And
this one also right here. That's the Japanese style arcade you see it right in here. That one I built, and pretty much except for the artwork, I had somebody do the artwork for me, and I just used stickers from Redbubble. That took me forever getting the wood together and everything for that one. But it turned out pretty awesome. That's like, I call it my magnum opus.
That's awesome, man. I do appreciate you taking time out of your day, because I know that you said you're moving. Thank you very much for sharing your testimony, sharing your journey, sharing your life. I really do appreciate it very much.
Bro, thank you for having me on, bro. This was awesome.
Appreciate you, man. All right. That's it for today's XCast, and we're out. And we're out.